Are you looking for details of the most beautiful weekend walks in southeast Queensland? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Everyday Hiker podcast. My name is Beck and I'm your host. Join me and my guest hikers as we share amazing locations, practical tips and guides to hikes, not only in the stunning southeast Queensland region, but also further afield. So whether you're new to hiking or you're just looking for fresh ideas, I really hope we can provide you with some inspiration. And please, if you like what you hear, follow me, share with your friends, rate my podcast, and send me your feedback. Okay, welcome everyone. In our last episode, and in fact our very first episode, I talked about 5 fantastic walks that you can do close to Brisbane, and most of those, or many of those, were focused on the south side of Brisbane or the west side of Brisbane. And I thought, well, the north siders might think it's their turn, and it absolutely is, because today I'm going to be talking about the absolutely gorgeous Diagula National Park. Now, before I do get into Diagula, I do want to warn you, though, that there aren't really any public transport options to the trails that I'm going to talk about. And in fact, depending on where you're coming from in Brisbane, it could take you anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half to drive to the start of the trails. So these really are ideas for a bit more of a day walk, if that's what you're looking for. It's worth the effort. Diagula is just glorious. There are so many trails inside the national park. But today I'm just going to feature 3 ideas for you to check out in the first place. The first of these ideas is to head up to Mount Glorious, which is a beautiful destination in its own right. But as you're going up to Mount Glorious, you will pass through Mount Nebo, and I'm going to suggest you stop here because the trail at Mount Glorious itself is pretty short unless you're heading out on one of the longer overnight hikes, which I'll talk about later in the episode. So to head out to Mount Nebo and Mount Glorious, you are going up Waterworks Road and continue up the very windy road, which is popular both with motorcyclists and cyclists. So keep that in mind in terms of allowing for travel time, and head up to the mountains. Now, it's much cooler up here. That's one of the fantastic things in summer, makes it a great destination in summer. Also in winter, you might just need to keep in mind, do I need an extra jumper if I'm heading up to these areas? As you get up close to Mount Nebo, you will see a sign on your left for Jolly's Lookout. And this is where I suggest you would stop in the first place. You could just go out and have a look at the lookout itself, which has got fantastic views on a clear day and is just a short walk to the lookout. I think it'd be great to take some of the other trails here. In fact, these trails do stretch all the way down to the inaugural reservoir, which we talked about in the first episode. But there's a trail called the Thylagal Circuit, which is 8 kilometres, so it's a nice distance. It's not got too much elevation. It's very rainforesty trail. There's vines on either side of the trail, even some vines over the track, making it a bit more of an adventure. It's quite doable. About halfway along the track, you'll come to the very pretty Bombana picnic area where you can stop and have a rest. And sometimes the cafe there is open as well, giving you another option, and you circle back to the lookout from here. Jump back in your car and keep going all the way up to Mount Glorious. And when you get to Mount Glorious, there are some really lovely picnic areas, all grassy. There's barbecues, there's plenty of parking. There's also a very popular cafe up here if you want to have some refreshments before you start your next walk. So the most popular walk up at Mount Glorious is the Green Falls Circuit, and for good reason. It is a gentle walk down and back. It's only about 4 kilometres, the whole circuit. You're walking down past a very lovely creek. It's a very small challenge in this track. Sometimes there's trees over the track to climb over. There's bridges over the creek itself. It's a great one for kids, but literally anybody who wants to get out into a bit of Queensland rainforest in a very accessible way. A couple of bonuses along the track as well. We've been out there at dusk and seen the little paddy melons that are on the hills on either side of the track. And also for kids, if you wade around in the creek at the bottom, you might see the crayfish that reside there. If you want to extend the circuit a little bit, there's another pretty detour called the Cypress Grove Circuit, which is, as its name suggests, a grove of trees, quite different to what you've been seeing in that rainforest circuit. So So that's Mount Glorious for you. On the way home, you could extend the day. As you're heading down Mount Nebo Road, you'll see there's a turn off to Samford. As you're coming down this road, you'll get fantastic views over the Samford Valley. And Samford is worth a stop in its own right. It's like the little country town near the city. And there's a terrific pub, if that's what appeals to you, for the end of your day. The second hike I'm going to suggest is Northbrook Gorge. Now, this one's a bit more challenging. It's certainly one for people that are up for an adventure. It involves a lot of rock hopping. So it will be rewarding, though, because at the end of that rock hopping, you come to the most amazing swimming spot. And even if you're not swimming, it's extremely photogenic with waterfalls at the back of the waterhole. There can even be a bit of bush bashing on this trail because the trail is not clearly marked. So if you don't know what I'm talking about when I talk about rock hopping, this really is that the trail is along the creek. It's not a really clearly defined trail. So you're climbing over big boulders and small rocks, and at times you're having to cross the creek back and forth to make your way up to the gorge. So the first thing I would recommend is, if you're going to head out on this trail, to either wear your swimmers or wear something that you don't mind getting wet in, because there's a good chance that you might get wet or your gear might get wet. So you might want to pack a waterproof sack for those things that matter. You will need some hiking shoes, though. It's not the sort of trail that you'd want to attack in your thongs. You need a bit of gripper on your shoes. And if you think it's annoying to keep taking those shoes and socks on and off, you can walk up the creek itself, just straight up the creek if you don't mind getting wet. But even the bottom of the creek is going to need a bit of grip. So you could think about those hiking sandals. Keen and Tiva make them, but you can even get sort of waterproof wetsuit type shoes from the discount stores to wear on this type of hike. Okay, a couple of other things to think about with Northbrook Gorge. Because it is a water hike, you might get leeches in the creek. Just warning you, certainly haven't experienced them, but at different types of the year, particularly after rain, might be more of a problem. Those rocks are also going to be slippery after the rain, so be aware of that. It's really worth timing a bushwalk up to Northbrook Gorge, because also in the dry season, you might not necessarily get water in the gorge, so check out the conditions before you head off. The other thing is that people have also mentioned seeing snakes on the large rocks. Once again, not something that I've experienced, but just something to be wary of. You just have to give them a wide berth. They don't want to meet you any more than you want to meet them. Okay, getting into Northbrook Gorge can be a bit of a challenge. The entry is really via three ways, but to find the start of the trail, definitely on two of those ways, can be a bit challenging. So this is a hike that I would definitely prepare for at home. Download the All Trails map so you know where you're going. Read some of the other hikers' reviews that have been put out on Northbrook Gorge. You might even find a YouTube video or two telling you how to get to the start of the trail, because it's easy to miss. And even the car park can be a bit of a challenge to find. Also, plan your time. It'll take you at least a couple of hours to get up the gorge, and could take you longer depending how long you spend at the swimming spot. And I didn't mention before, when you get up the gorge itself, it narrows and there's some really large boulders. You'll have to climb up to a certain degree to get into the swimming spot, which has got a waterfall as a backdrop. It really is what you've come for, and is one of the nicest features of D'Aguilar. So if you're coming in, the first thing you could do is come over Mount Glorious and down the windy road over the back, and that'll take you to the car park. The second thing you could do if you're coming from the north side is to come in via Lawton Road. There is more car parking here, which is helpful because it's a very small car park at the main trailhead. The only issue with coming in from that car park is there's a bit more of a walk into the gorge, so you need to plan for this extension. And the way that we came in most recently was from the western suburbs area via Fernvale. And the bonus of that is that you get to stop in Fernvale itself, either on the way or on the way back. And the Fernvale Bakery is famous for its pies, and I can attest to they're worth stopping for. You also get really nice views of Wivenhoe Dam as you're coming up, and even the road up from the dam up to the car park at Northbrook Gorge is a really pretty one too. So do your homework in terms of the best way to get into Northbrook Gorge, but if you've got a sense of adventure, a little bit of patience and want a challenge, this is one worth checking out. Now, the third one I'm going to suggest are the trails up at the Gantry picnic area near Mount Mee. You're going to come into Diaglia from a different way now. You're going to come in via Samford. You keep going from Samford through Daybra Township, up a windy road towards Mount Mee. You're not actually going to hit Mount Mee to get to the Gantry picnic area. There's a turn off just before. You'll see it on your left, signed Diagula National Park. So take that turn off and it's about a 20-minute drive into the picnic area from that main road into Mount Mee. I really love this drive. It's just, to me, quintessential Australian bush and farming. There's lots of grey ghost gums. There's a little bit of gravel track, but nothing a two-wheel drive can't handle. Getting into the picnic area. The good thing about the Gantry is that there is a lot of parking, so that's usually not a challenge to get a car parked. There's also toilets, there is a large picnic area, fresh water, and it's worth spending a moment either at the start of your hike or the end to actually have a look around this picnic area. This is an old logging area of Brisbane, and there's some memorabilia here. There's old equipment, there's an old shed, there's signage that tells you some of the history, and it's definitely worth a look. Now, your two main choices when you're up at the Gantry. The first is a very short track. It's only about 2 kilometres. It is a nice track, particularly if you've got young kids or people where you've got potentially accessibility issues, because it's mostly boardwalk. It's around a rainforest. There's lots of palms in there, and it's a pretty, short track. But if I'm going up to the Gantry, I want to make it worth my while and I want to do the longer hike. Now, the Somerset Trail is about 13 kilometres. I wouldn't rate it as particularly hard. It's sort of a medium walk. It's a great one if you want to challenge yourself to go above the 10-kilometre mark. There's a few hills in there, but nothing that's not manageable. And the variety of the landscape is just fantastic. You go from pine trees to rainforest to open vistas to bushland. It's really got it all, this trail. There's flora. I haven't seen too much wildlife here, but certainly in spring the wildflowers are out. In winter you get that cold mountain air, and also in summer it's a great one too because it's really shady. The main bonus for me of doing this trail are the views at about the halfway point. So about halfway along you will find a number of rocky outcrops. There's one main one, but if you look around you'll see there's a couple of others. The views are like 180 degree views of Somerset and Wivenhoe Dam and that whole Diagula National Park and the mountain ranges around it. It's just great to sit on the rocks, have a picnic lunch, have a great stop, talk with other hikers. This is what you've come for, is to get this view. And then you head back. And like I said, if you've gone the anti-clockwise direction that I suggested next to the boardwalk, you'll come out at the picnic area as a bit of a stop and back to your car. Now, if you're heading back down via Daybra, then there's a couple of stops that I would suggest to you along the way. The first is, if wineries are your thing, check out the Ocean View Winery, mostly on the weekends, and you have to let them know you're coming and pre-order a platter. But the views are stunning. It's a lovely way to finish the day up at Ocean View Winery. The second one that I love is the Pit Stop Cafe. You will see this coming up on the right-hand side. You'll know it from the black and white flags that you see on the side of the road. And what that suggests, and is certainly the case, is this is a cafe featuring amazing memorabilia for motorists and motorcyclists. And because of that, people come there as a destination in their own right. It can be popular. You might have a short wait for tables, but it's worth it because, once again, you get a different view on that side of the mountain. That, particularly if you're sitting outside, you'll get terrific views over the valley. Also, they just serve up really hearty food. So if you've had a big morning on the Somerset Trail and you're feeling like a burger and a milkshake, this is the place to head to. Otherwise, stop, and as well as you could stop at Daybra itself. So a couple of things with Daybra: great old-fashioned country pub, bakery that's always got a line that tells you that it's good. They have country markets, worth checking out to see if they're on a Sunday that you might decide to head out for the walk. There's also an award-winning butcher, there's fresh produce, there's gift shops, there's cafes. Really is a great place to stop, Debra, on the way back. So that's 3 hikes for you to try in Diagula National Park. I feel like I'm shortchanging to a certain extent because there's so many other great trails in Diagula, and I know we'll be featuring them on future episodes. But here's a few more that you could do your homework on in the areas that we've already spoken about. The first is Cedar Creek Falls and Love Creek Falls. These are located halfway between Sanford and Debra. Parking is really tight. Think about that before you head out there. This is rock hopping as well and a great swimming spot. More accessible than Northbrook Gorge, but as a result also more popular, but another great one to check out as a summertime destination. In fact, we did it recently in winter, and it's a great destination all year round, but if you're looking for a Northbrook Gorge alternative, that's it. Also from Mount Glorious, if you're looking for a longer hike, and I think this would have to be one of the closest overnight hikes to Brisbane, and one that I'm really keen to explore in a future episode, and that is hiking down to the England Creek Bush Camp for an overnight stay. A great one if you're looking to step up with your hiking to an overnight. And the third suggestion is from the Gantry, you don't have to go home via Debra. You can actually go home via Newham Creek, although I'd suggest you need a 4-wheel drive or a car with a bit of clearance to do it, and some good tyres, because it is gravel tracks all the way down until you come out the other side of Newham Creek. There's a couple of short trails and fall lookouts that you can stop at on the way down to Newham Creek, and that includes the Falls Lookout and Rocky Hole, where you can swim. Also, when you get to Newham Creek itself, there's another private camping area, but this is just a really nice camping area by the creek. You may have heard of it. They do music weekends, so if you're looking for a weekend away in Diagula, this could be a great stop, because you could camp here and then head up to some of these walks that we've been talking about. I hope this episode has given you some inspiration to get out hiking in Diagula National Park. It really is one of the most beautiful areas of Brisbane. And if you're keen to get out on the trails, please keep listening. Give me your feedback. Let me know what else you'd like to hear from. And please share with your friends and rate my podcast. And until next time, happy hiking.